right, I'm being told I am live. So here we are. This is my first live stream by myself. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here, but I'm going to talk to all of you about future plans and stuff I have in mind and where I want to go and how we can get there together and what we can do to make a difference. I've kind of been on hiatus here recently. I've been on a couple of shows, but my podcast I've kind of um, let just kind of simmer. And it's not because the podcast is ending; it's because I've been dealing with a lot of dental work, and it's just been very difficult for me to um, to be comfortable talking. And we're coming to the conclusion of all this, and hopefully I am speaking well enough where you can understand what I'm saying, because it's been something that's really been bugging me, probably more so than it's been bugging anybody else. Listening to um, episodes that I've been on, it really doesn't sound that bad. Um, in all honesty, it's more of a comfort thing that I'm struggling with, and so it's something I've always dealt with is kind of imposter syndrome, and then on top of it having the just the new feeling in my mouth and dealing with these things. It's kind of created a struggle for me. So it's really personal, intentional, internal, that I'm fighting through this. But we're going to get through it, and we're going to keep moving forward and keep doing our thing. And so year zero will be continuing. I've been working on series with Adam Fitzgerald on 9/11 and deep diving into 9/11. That will continue next week. We are recording episode 7 of that next week. So that's going to continue. But we're going to make some announcements today and talk about some other stuff that I want to get in the works. But first, I want to thank everybody that has been so supportive of year zero and myself, as it's always been kind of like I said, it's been a struggle for me, not only with the dental work, but there's always been like this internal dialogue going on within my mind about what I'm doing and how I'm moving forward. And so I just really want to thank those people that have always been there and always taken the time to motivate me, give me encouragement, and even sponsor the show in some cases. So um first, Scott Horton. I can't say enough about Scott Horton, the greatest. I mean, he's one of the best commentators on war and foreign policy that I've ever heard. And he's also one of my best friends, and I love Scott to death. Um, and Reed Coverdale has been nothing but supportive of me moving forward, with all his success that I'm very grateful for, and I'm very happy that he's having that success. I remember when he first started his podcast and he was having audio issues while over the road, and I got his phone number and I called him, and I was trying to help him walk through some of those audio issues. And I think at the time he may have had 100 subscribers. So Reed is a good friend of mine. Kyle Matovic, like, congratulations, man, you're getting married today. So we're happy for you. And I'll be on that Zoom link watching that wedding take place here in a few hours. It's a big day, and I'm happy for you, man. I know you and your soon to be wife. A couple hours, bro. I hope those cold feet ain't got you. But I know y'all are going to be very happy, and I'm very happy for you, and I'm proud of you, the work that you're doing, all the things that you're doing. Pete Quinones, one of my best friends in the world. Love Pete. Can't say enough about him. My wife, I couldn't do anything that I do without my wife. She's brilliant. She's beautiful. She's she's I mean, she's really the backbone of everything I do. It's my wife, my kids, my mom. I like to thank her. Very supportive. My dad, also very supportive, even though he gives me a hard time. But I don't think I could have the conversations I have without my dad pushing back on me and giving me that the ability to think through my processes and everything that I want to get into. And my love for reading comes from my dad. I remember being young and bored as a kid, as we often are, and he'd hand me a book. He's like, "You're bored? Here, go read this. This will give you something to do." And taught me how to be productive and work hard. And so, yeah, I'm very appreciative of my dad. The Mark Claire show. Mark Claire is just one of the legends in podcasting. And he started a new show. He left Lions of Liberty. If y'all don't know, he started a new show, and so he's doing that now. And it's a really good show, very esoteric, really digging into the depths of spirituality and false flags and governance, and like getting deep into these subjects, which I really appreciate what Mark's doing. Foxandsons.com. Best coffee. I've never had better coffee. I'm not going to lie. And I'm just blessed and thankful that Steven loved my show and wanted to be a sponsor, and has signed up, and we have a good relationship, and we're good friends now. And I really appreciate Steve. Great dude, great coffee. Go put that BBC in your mouth, baby. Quincy, one of my best friends in the world, also not a big podcast listener, but still one of my best friends and very supportive of everything I've done. Buck Johnson, very supportive of everything I've done and the direction I'm going. John Hartman, Rachel Tobias. I'm going to forget people. There's no way I'm going to remember everybody. Everybody who's been a guest or been supportive, constant listeners, people like James Gentleman, just constant listeners. Ryan Bunting, great friend, constant listener, never fails to give me a hard time, which is why, I call him the greatest racist you'll ever know. But and he's a virtual assistant, much like Beatrix is. So go to Autonomy Virtual, check him out. He's doing him and his wife Trish are working together to get their brand and their business off the ground. Then we're going I don't know, man. I could go on for days on the people that have supported me and loved me. And I put some in the banner down there. Autonomous trucker, Gord. Yeah, Gord McGill. Definitely a good friend of mine. Absolute brilliant guy. And he's I think he's going to start podcasting. He's also got a Substack going, Autonomous Truckers. So go check that out. Really good stuff going on there. So, man, I really appreciate all y'all. If I didn't mention your name, it's not because I don't love you. It's not because I don't think about you. It's just, it's so many people, and there's so much help and assistance that I've gotten um, in podcasting and in doing what I do. It's just there's just too much to say about all of you. And y'all are all great, and you're all on my mind, and I really appreciate every one of you. Mark Metz, Justin Campbell, Josiah, like all of you. Like I know you're there, and you've always been there for me, and I appreciate y'all. So now that that's out of the way, all that mushy shit. So what is ESG? This is I realized when I was podcasting. I did a podcast with Caleb Brown the other day, Faith, Liberty, and Practice, and he does these episodes, really good episodes. Explain to me like I'm 5, and it's like just give me the basics, like uncover whatever this is, and make it easy for me to understand. And so we did an episode on ESG, and I realized during that episode that there's not enough happening to bring attention to people about ESG. So, what does the acronym stand for? What is ESG? Environmental, social justice, and corporate governance. ESG, right? So, what does this mean to us in our daily lives? How does this interact with us? What what are these corporate brokers doing in the background behind closed doors that is going to affect our lives every day? And they've constructed this in such a way that it took years, 16, 17 years, for people to become aware, like, wait, this is going on, this is affecting us, and this is detrimental to our lifestyle, to the way we live our lives. And by the time we started realizing what was occurring around us, they had a pretty strong foothold. Now, that doesn't mean that it's all for naught and hopeless, that there's nothing you can do, there's no fight you can make. But it means that we're going to have to buckle down, and we're going to have to figure this out. And so what I'm going to do is, moving forward, I'm going to do live streams every week for my patrons, whether through my Substack. You can go to tommysalmons.com and find my Substack, or through my Patreon. And I'm going to do a live stream, and it's going to be ESG this week. And I'm just going to be covering those stories of that week that are related to ESG, transhumanism, population control, COP27, all of these different things I'm going to be focusing on during these live streams once a week. It's either going to be a Friday or a Saturday. It may vary depending on my work schedule, but it will be a Friday or a Saturday evening, 6, 7-ish, somewhere around there. That would be Central Time, so about 6 or 7 Central Time, and it'll be available for my paid subscribers. It's not going to be available in the public. Now, what I might start doing is for those that can't afford a subscription, which I understand. I mean, $5 a month isn't a lot, but in today's economy, it can seem like a lot. I understand that, and I'm not discounting that. But in order to put forward this extra work and do the excess of recording and and live streaming and getting on here and talking about these news articles and taking time away from my wife and my normal daily life, I'm going to have to uh, do something additional. So what I might do is once a month, just release an episode on ESG that comes from the live stream or something like that, so that other people are getting information as well, that it's not just those that are paying, but those that are paying are going to get a lot more of the information, a lot more of the content that's coming out. um I'll try to work with some people and see if we can't dress up the background a little bit, maybe have an intro for the ESG this week videos or something like that. Uh, so, but yeah, I've been doing I've done so much work and research on this, and I realize when I go on shows, like I've been on Pete's show, I've been on Buck's show, I've been on Mark Claire's show, I've been on John Odermatt's show, I've been on um Caleb's show talking about ESG. I realize that a lot of what I'm covering is is very repetitive, and it's because there's not a lot of interest in this subject. It hasn't caught the momentum it needs. There are 11 states that are fighting against this, and making it to where people cannot be financially penalized because of political beliefs, which is the basis of it. And so we're going to really buckle down and dig into these articles and cover what it is that is being pushed upon us. So as a breakdown to start off with, ESG is um, a system of control pushed by government onto corporations, utilizing the financial institutions to control people. That's ultimately what it is. If you look at Kanye West or Alex Jones, the trucker protesters in Canada, Donald Trump, all these people losing banking because of their political views or um, taking actions or making statements that um, were not appreciated by the powers that be. They put pressure on the financial institutions to cut off the income and the ability for these people to bank and make money going forward. So, and then you have the Federal Reserve coming out with a press release a few weeks ago stating that they are going to start utilizing ESG as a social credit score. And they're working with 6 of the top banks and financial institutions in order to penalize people based upon their political beliefs. Um, it's something that is going to it's going to interrupt every facet of people's lives. Um, they want to get rid of fossil fuels by 2050. And I mean, okay, that's fine if you can find a way to substitute fossil fuels with something else, because of the amount of product that is created out of fossil fuels. You have Vaseline, I mean, medicines, plastics, gasoline, all these different items utilize fossil fuels in order to create products that we use on a daily basis. A lot of people don't realize the amount of products that they are going to be without if the fossil fuel industry is no longer existent. And how are they going to replicate or replace the products that you're used to um, utilizing on a daily basis, making your life easier, if they're if they've cut out all fossil fuel usage? Like, just for instance, um, one of the things I brought up when I was talking to Caleb was natural gas. If they stop natural gas, then you're going to have fertilizer shortages, because fertilizer is made from natural gas. Much of the fertilizer that they ship around the world is created out of natural gas. And so you end up with fertilizer shortages, which means you have food shortages, which means you have starvation. And this is something that I've taken into account for a long time. In 1946, Charles Galton Darwin wrote a book called The Next Million Years. And in that book, he said upwards of 60 million people would die when we get off of fossil fuels. And so even in the 1940s, they were planning on abandoning the fossil fuel industry. So as this moves forward and these policies move forward and whittle their way through society, it's beneficial that somebody is taking account and putting these things out there for people to hear and people to get the information from, because not everybody has the time, knows where to look, knows what to look for, and their lives are being transformed right before their eyes, and they don't know why. And they think they can vote themselves out of these problems. But you can't vote yourself out of a problem that everybody's on board with. And so you have to look to the 11 states, Louisiana, Texas, Florida, um, I think Utah, you know, South Dakota. I can't remember every state, but these 11 states that are passing laws that are combating ESG. You have to look to Vivek Ramaswamy and his blueprint of Strive and how to combat BlackRock. You have to take all of these things into consideration. You have to figure out which banks are working with these corporations, with governments, in order to utilize your resources, your finances, your money to limit your freedoms. Get your money out of those financial institutions and move into safer, more freedom minded institutions. This is why you're seeing such a push for a parallel economy, where you have YouTube, who's probably not going to like this video very much, very well could take it down just because they don't like what I'm saying, and Rumble competing against each other. And Rumble is much more freedom associated, at least for speech purposes. They let you get away with a little bit more. They'll let you say things that maybe you can't say on YouTube. And so you have this entire situation where you're looking at this division take place. And it's like the Mason-Dixon line runs along the borders of the internet, and it's based upon speech and belief and thought and questioning. Are you a conspiracy theorist? I mean, it's turning into this really incredibly difficult world to maneuver whenever you're talking about these things. because there are a lot of people that don't want you talking about them. But these subjects are the subjects that are extremely important and vital to talk about and discuss and get into detail on and debate and try to figure out, like, how do we wade through these waters? How do we stop billionaire activists from leaning on governments and financial institutions in order to bend the world into the image they want it to be? How do we continue living our lives in a way that is satisfactory to us, our morals, and our standards? And it's difficult if you don't have funding, if you don't have money behind you. It's difficult because they don't want the competition. They don't want your voices heard. So make your voice heard. Go over to Substack, TommySalmons.com, or go to Substack and look for um, Tommy Salmons on Substack. Go to Patreon and look for TD Salmons. Subscribe for $5, $6, $7 a month, whatever you can afford. And let's move this conversation forward. And let's start putting out this content and utilizing their advocacy for these policies against them. So we're going to be covering transhumanism, population control, sustainable development, stakeholder capitalism, ESG. That's what we're going to be doing here. That's what we're going to be focused on. I plan on finding articles throughout the week, collecting them, putting them together, putting together a show, and coming on here and talking to you about it. Maybe I'll have some episodes with some guests. Maybe I'll have some episodes where I'm breaking down some of their books. But we're going to talk about these people. We're going to talk about their plans. We're going to talk about what they want to do and how it is we stop them, how it is we defend ourselves against them. Because that's what's important, is that we are able to defend ourselves and sustain our own lives, not worry about, what is it? The Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030, or now it's Agenda 2050 or whatever it is today. Let's not worry about COP 27 or Bilderberg or Davos. How do we get these people out of our lives? How do we get their influence out of our politics? And it starts at a societal level. It starts at a citizen level. So by funding the work that I'm doing in order to combat their narrative, we can start the process and put a foot forward to stop ESG. So that's the plan moving forward, man. So go to my Substack, TommySalmons.com, or go to Patreon and look for TD Salmons. Donate, subscribe, and let's get this information out there. Let's start really pushing forward. The more donors I have, the more content I can continue to put out for free. Well, that was the message. That's it. That's the big announcement. We're going to be doing some new stuff. We're going to be working really hard and trying to bring y'all all this wonderful, joyful information that I read every week. So, all right. Well, I appreciate y'all's time. That's damn near 30 minutes in the bag, which is about what I wanted to do. And I'll see y'all at Substack or at my Patreon. Late.